Welcome to Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, a segment from NFL Daily earlier today where we talked about Patrick Queen and the possibility of him being traded from the Baltimore Ravens with two potential trade partners, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, I know, right? The Steelers? And the Minnesota Vikings. We'll break that down coming up in just a matter of moments here on Ravens Rundown. Before we do that, though, quick reminder, join us on Saturday night for our first watch party of the season. We're going to be live for the entire Ravens versus Eagles game right here on the channel. We are going to have a Chat Sports Palooza. If you've never been a part of a watch party before, prepare to be amazed. It is going to be a dandy, I can promise you that much. We'll be having our Super Chat battles. We'll have a few drinks on hand. You will not want to miss it. Make sure join us on Saturday Night Live right here on Ravens Rundown. Right now, though, let's go ahead and hear more about Patrick Queen and his potential trade status. Patrick Queen, could the Baltimore Ravens move on from their inside linebacker? The folks at the 33rd team are suggesting the Ravens could still trade Queen before the season. Now, let me set the scene for you here before we get into too much detail and show you about these trade ideas that the 33rd team has put together here. For months on end, the speculation has been rampant about Patrick Queen's future with the Baltimore Ravens. Remember, they declined his fifth-year option. They drafted Trenton Simpson, and they still haven't come to terms on a new agreement at this point in time. Now, we've heard Eric DeCosta, the general manager for the Baltimore Ravens, say, hey, we want to keep him. We believe in him long-term. We think he's a Pro Bowl caliber linebacker. But as we once heard from the great movie that is, now it's escaping me. I can't even, Jerry Maguire, yes. From Jerry Maguire, show me the money, right? There's no deal in place at this point in time. So with that said, where does that leave the Baltimore Ravens? Where do they go from here? Jeff Diamond of the 33rd team had this to say. The Ravens paid big money to Roquan Smith, declined Queen's fifth-year option, and drafted Trenton Simpson in the third round of this year's draft. Simpson is Queen's likely replacement, which could happen sooner than later. More on Patrick Queen, a former first-round pick out of LSU in 2020. And what do I say from time to time around here, folks? The best availability is availability, right? And with Patrick Queen, sure, he hasn't been to a Pro Bowl at this point in time, but he started every game in his first three seasons. Every single one. Has not missed a game for the Baltimore Ravens. He was an all-rookie team selection in his first year. And if you shift over to the statistics for what he's done in his young NFL career at this point, this is a guy that is coming off the best season of his career so far. And think about this in 2022. Things started out a little slow for him. Then you pair him up with Roquan Smith, and we saw him flourish there with that Baltimore Ravens team. 2021, 2020, those were solid seasons. But last year, he took a huge step in the right direction when you paired him with Roquan Smith. Now, here's the other thing. When you talk about trade value, where he could potentially end up, Patrick Queen, you spent a first-round pick on him, but you're looking at maybe a day 2 pick, maybe a couple of day 3 picks. You're not going to get the return on investment of what it took to draft Patrick Queen. Nobody's giving you a first-round pick. So we'll show you the teams and the potential situations for Patrick Queen in just a moment. But first, should the Ravens trade Patrick Queen? What do you guys think? Type T for trade, P for pass. What do you think? Should the Ravens move on from Patrick Queen? I think you see a guy that has plenty of potential, right? We know he's a good player, but can he be great? Is that next step still ahead, or is he just is what he is? What do you think? Should the Ravens trade him or not? Chime in the comment section. Tell us what you think. T for trade, P for pass. So here's the first idea that Jeff Diamond of the 33rd team put together. The Minnesota Vikings are on an interesting option. Queen would stay in a 3-4 defense and upgrade the Vikings linebacking core for last year's 31st ranked defense. He's 7 years younger and a better player than Jordan Hicks. Now, think about this. As far as the Vikings go, the Vikings could barely pay Danielle Hunter, right? That was the thing about the holdup with Danielle Hunter was, well, we've paid all these other guys. Do we still have enough money for Danielle Hunter? Where all of a sudden you're going to get enough money to pay Patrick Queen, if that's the case. If you're the Vikings, I think Patrick Queen would be a good fit. He would be a nice piece to have, but it's the same problem the Ravens have right now. It's, can you pay him long term? That's a big problem. I still think the Vikings are a weird trade partner in that sense because it's the same issue that Baltimore is going through. Another idea that was proposed by the 33rd team. The Pittsburgh Steelers know Queen well from playing in the same division, and we would bring another playmaker to their 3-4 defense in that tough AFC North. Let me tell you this right now. In no universe, none whatsoever, would the Ravens ever trade Patrick Queen to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Are you kidding me? That ain't happening. Now, he could be a good fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Very well could be. He could thrive in Pittsburgh. But could you imagine how much of a disaster, the repercussions there would be, and the motivation and all that, if you send Patrick Queen to your biggest rival like that? I would be very shocked if Patrick Queen ended up in Pittsburgh. It'd be a good fit for Pittsburgh, no question about it. But I would be very surprised if Baltimore pulled that trigger to send him to their arch rival Pittsburgh Steelers. What team will Patrick Queen play for this season? Is it going to be Baltimore? Is it a team like Pittsburgh? Is it Minnesota? Is it somebody else out there? Weigh in, tell us in the comment section what team you think Patrick Queen is ultimately going to end up with. Couple more notes on a potential Patrick Queen trade. Listen to this. Did you know that if the Ravens were to trade Patrick Queen, it would have no effect on the Ravens' cap? None whatsoever. And it would save them $2.3 million against the cap. So, although the trade value is not great for Baltimore, looking at maybe a day 2 pick, maybe a couple day 3 picks, cap-wise, you save a little bit of money. So maybe you go upgrade another position potentially, have a little extra cash to spend to shore up your roster. But the bottom line is this. All indications are that Trenton Simpson isn't ready for a starting role yet. If the Ravens were fully confident in Trenton Simpson, we talked about Trenton Simpson earlier, who they selected in the 3rd round at Clemson, then this would be an easy move to make. If you're the Baltimore Ravens, you say, yeah, let's get what we can out of Patrick Queen, go with a younger player, we pay him less, and we move on, call it a day. The reports that we've seen out of training camp are that Trenton Simpson is coming along, but he's nowhere near ready for a full-time starting role, that he's very raw at this point in time. What I would do if I were the Baltimore Ravens, I would go ahead and keep Patrick Queen for now, let him play the season out, and then figure out what to do next offseason, whether that be franchise tag and trade him or give him a new contract, whatever it may be. Let the season play out, roll with what you got, and then just kind of kick the can down the road and figure it out later when it comes to Patrick Queen. That's what I would do. That's some free advice for Eric DeCosta and John Harbaugh. We'll see what they do, but that's what I would recommend at this point in time.